Well, hello and welcome to the Lending Podcast. We are your hosts. This is JB and I am Jeff Jones here in Austin, Texas. And we're recording this here at almost the end of December. And 2024. We just had our office Christmas party last night.
Yes, we did.
That was a beautiful time.
We're the only two, well, there's a third person in the office. There's only three of us here
No one
out
else
of
is
about
here.
20. Yeah.
They didn't show. It was a late night.
It was a late night.
But we're here bright and early, recording for you at our little headquarters, Benchmark Mortgage. And we're happy to provide you a podcast about a product we are very excited about. It's been around for a while, but a lot of people don't know it exists, especially if you're getting information from realtors because you're going to be selling your home and buying another one, and you don't want to be non-contingent on sale. We got some buzzwords we're going to use. We'll unpack what it means. What are you excited to talk about?
We get so many calls about buying before you sell. You have a house to sell.
Right.
You really want to buy before you sell, and there's some qualification requirements, right, to sort of qualifying for having two mortgage payments. And there's a little bit of fear around that too. Sometimes for folks, like, I don't know if I want to have two mortgage payments. You know, I'd love to sell my house, take the equity out, and then go buy something. However, the process of getting it sold and the timing of getting it sold may have me miss out on this opportunity to go buy my dream home. So these are some really cool ideas and some really cool tactical products that we have to help you buy before you sell and use the equity that's currently in your home to put down on the down payment. And that's usually the biggest hang up is I need the equity out of my home.
That's right.
Right? Even if I can qualify for two mortgage payments, it's like my down payment money's maybe tied up in my brokerage account, or it's tied up in my 401k, or I really don't have a lot of liquid savings. My savings is my house, which is fine too. You know, the equity in my home that I currently own. So how do we unlock that equity and buy before we sell? So we're going to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so if you're knowing that you're wanting to move over this next year and you're worried that your house, isn't going to sell before you buy, whether because you don't want to move out of it yet. I mean, who likes to move twice? I don't.
Right.
But these scenarios that we're going to talk about are for people that are really not able to carry two mortgages at the same time on their pre-approval, right? So when we pre-approve people to buy a house, we have to gauge what your debts are. And if we can remove your biggest debt by saying we don't have to count your current mortgage towards that, that really helps out your income calculation, your buying power. If we could also say you don't need all this money down that you don't have until you sell your current house, then this can also provide an alternative to provide you that money down.
Yeah. And what we're really talking about is, what if you had a guaranteed buyer?
What? Who guarantees anything these days?
House.
We can.
A guaranteed buyer. Yeah. So that's really kind of what we're talking about. There's that the element of qualifying with two mortgages, which is really tough for a lot of folks, right? Especially if, let's say, your mortgage is $2,000 or $3,000 right now. You're going to have a mortgage that's maybe $3,000 or $4,000. You got $6,000 or $7,000 in mortgages on paper. Your income may not support that, right? And so that's the one piece. The other piece is, like we touched on a second ago, is how do we get that equity out? How do we tap into the equity, go buy something, then put our house on the market? And let's be honest, there's actually a lot of benefits to buying before you sell so that you can properly stage your home.
Oh, yeah.
And let's say you've got pets, you've got kids, you've got traffic in your house, and you're trying to show it and keep it looking show ready all the time. It's taxing. If you're a seller out there and you've ever done that before, it is a lot of mental anguish at times, keeping your house in sort of perfect condition for the prospective buyer that may walk in. So what if you've already moved out and you've got your previous house staged and you're getting it sold? It's just going to show better. It's going to be more accessible.
That's a very good
for
point.
Your buyers.
It's putting your house that you're currently in, that you're going to sell, in the best possible situation. People aren't coming to tour your house while you're in it, living in it. That's a really good point.
Yeah, because you get to tell your listing agent, put on the MLS, on the listing, go, it's show ready, go.
Yeah.
you don't have to make an appointment per se for the buyer's agent with the buyers.
Just drop by.
Yeah, it makes that, and also makes it easier for agents to preview homes, because a lot of buyer's agents they'll preview a house first, then call their clients and say, hey, I think I may have found the house that you're looking for. It checks a lot of boxes.
And as people show homes and the realtors are driving around, they'll look at a house in the neighborhood, and the people will walk through with their realtor and they'll go, man, I wish this had this instead of that. And the realtor can look on what's listed in that, but we love the neighborhood. The realtor can look what's in that neighborhood for sale and go, well, we can pop by this other one that's 3 blocks away.
That's right.
We don't need an appointment because it's empty.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So let's talk about the mechanics. Like this particular product program that we're talking about is a buy before you sell, and there's a way to access the equity in your current home with this guaranteed buyer. So it's an institutional buyer, right? Now, there's no risk to the seller, because that house that they're trying to sell is gonna be bought for the amount that they are listing it for, presuming it appraises for that, right?
Yeah.
So, and you've got a little more knowledge of this product really than me, because you've got a client that was looking at doing this the last week or so.
Just over the weekend. Yeah. So let's unpack a word called contingent.
Yep.
Can you define for people what contingent is, and then I'll go into the product?
Yeah, so a contingency means that you really need to sell first before you buy. So when you put an offer in, you're saying, I want to buy your house, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. However, my offer is contingent on selling my house. I have to sell my house first, then I can buy your house. Well, to a seller, and it may, for every seller is different, and there may be sellers that say, sounds great, no problem, we'll take that contingent offer. However, if you're competing with other potential buyers and you're a contingent buyer that has to sell first, another buyer does not have to sell their home first, or they're a first-time buyer or a 10th-time buyer who's ready to roll and does not have to wait on anything. If I'm a seller, I would want to take that non-contingent offer most of the time, depending on the terms and a lot of factors. But it's a quicker closing for the seller if the buyer can go non-contingent. That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah,
speed.
yeah. They don't want to wait for your domino to fall, your house to sell in order for their domino to fall and then get to their money, because they are trying to possibly buy another one.
That's right.
So instead of lining all those, things that have to occur first, they're like, I want the for sure thing. So what this product does is the guideline states that if you have a non-contingent offer on your home, so if I'm selling my house, I'm going to go buy another one, and somebody offers a non-contingent offer on my home, then the lender that's pre-approving you for your next home doesn't have to count that mortgage against your income calculation, right?
Right.
Because
in this case, it's
you have a
cash,
guaranteed offer.
Yeah, it's a cash offer.
It's a cash guaranteed offer.
Yeah,
and so what that does is it allows the bank or the lender to not have to penalize really your current residence against your buying power. So because you have that, then you're good to go. So your next offer doesn't have to be contingent.
That's right.
So for it to get there, let's talk about how this program works. So you do have to get pre-approved for that program, because we're just going to say it. The company we use is called HomeLight. So cat's out of the bag on that. It's a great company, been around a long time, highly reputable. We have them in-house. And so what that means for us is we're still, if we do it, we're still your direct, point of contact for your HomeLight program, because we have a great relationship. So that's just how Benchmark works. But with HomeLight, we're going to have the property evaluated. So your current home is going to get evaluated. So we put it into their system. They give us, a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a sideways thumb. It says we need to get it inspected of its current condition. So if a property is more than 5 years old, it's going to get inspected. And so what that does is that just ensures that it's not decrepit, right? So the life of the home equals basically what is to be expected. It's not below a value that it should be. So we get inspection out there, and then they want to make sure too, there's a couple things that disqualify you for this program. They want to make sure you have equity in the property. So because they're taking a risk of buying the property, so they want to make sure there's a built-in equity to it. So if that equity value is around, if you have 30% equity in your home, you're good. If it's less than that, it's kind of a scenario base. So talk with your lender if you have less than 30% equity in your home. and then we'll go from there. That means if you have a $500,000 home, you know you can't have more than $350,000 of debts on it.
Right.
So so that's just the simple math of how that works to get the property evaluated. There's all these little like other nuances to the program. So if you want to hear more, talk to your lender specialist about what that means. Can't be over 5 acres, and there's all these other weird things that what they're doing is they're guaranteeing, before they guarantee their offer to you, they want to make sure that your property is going to sell within 120 days. So they want to be confident in that. And what the 120-day does is it gives, you know, your realtor the ability to list the property, put it on the market when you're ready, and it's 120 days from when you buy your next home.
Right.
So that 120 days doesn't start when you're pre-approved, which is nice. That 120 days starts when you close on that next home. So that's 3 months after you close on your next home. So that's great. So that gives you plenty of time to prepare. A lot of things in the market mainly do move within 3 months if they're priced right, they staged well, and you know it's at the right market value. So they're doing that evaluation for you. They're guaranteeing their offer on that property, non-contingent, and they go from there. So that allows you the opportunity. There are fees attached to that. The fees are charged once your property sells. So they don't charge that fee up front. So you're not paying anything out of pocket. Title takes care of it at your closing, and they pay them, you know, it's basically a 1.5 kind of program. And
there's 1.5 to 3%, somewhere.
1.5 to 3%. Yeah. There's a second program that gives you the equity. So I'm rambling a little bit, but I like talking about this piece a lot.
Well, there's a lot to unpack on this program. And so what we're really saying is you're a seller out there, a prospective buyer, you want to sell and buy, and whether your home's been on the market a day or a year, this type of program could be available for you, where you can get a non-contingent cash offer on your home. You know exactly what amount of money you're walking away from that house with eventually when it sells. But in the interim time, the lender, the company that's buying your house can actually unlock some equity for you. That's where that 30% equity piece comes in. You got to have at least 30%. Anything above and beyond that piece of equity, that 30% equity, you can get towards your purchase. So if you have 50% equity, you have a $500,000 value, you owe $250,000 on your home, and you've got $100,000 there of equity that's accessible. HomeLight's going to allow you to unlock that $100,000. We help you with that $100,000. Go buy that next home. It's closed. It's funded. Your same realtor still gets to list and sell the house that you departed. Right? We call that the departing residence. So the house you vacated. And now it's, you know, whether it needs to be staged or not, whether there's some touch-ups that need to get done, maybe some additional preparations to get it sold. Same real estate agent gets to list and sell that home with HomeLight at the price that's agreed upon, the original list price. So you're not sacrificing your equity. Even after you've bought, you're not sacrificing your equity. You might have to wait 30, 60, 90 days, 120 days, 3 or 4 months, right, to get it sold. But if we get to that 120-day mark after you've bought your new house, HomeLight closes on that house.
Yeah, let's talk about the beauty of that. So if you're a realtor out there and you're like, man, I'm not understanding how this plays out, right? Because that's what the brass tacks are. Like, how does this play out? So what it means if your client goes into this program, then their house is basically under contract, like has a contingency offer there. You're still going out and trying to sell it. Devil's advocate, let's do that a little bit. You know, your house is an anomaly for some reason, things aren't moving, or maybe it's priced too high and we need to make adjustments. But basically, if that 120 days hits, HomeLight pays off the balances of the debts on that property. So if you have a $500,000 home and you have a $250,000 current mortgage on it, and you used $100,000 of the equity unlock to go buy your next home, which is amazing, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, there's $350,000 of debt, right? The $250,000 mortgage, the $100,000 of equity that you use to buy your next home. They buy it for you for $350,000, but they have that equity gift to show the sales price at the $500,000 because that's what it was listed at. So out there, it looks like the whole package was purchased for $500 because of the equity
That's right.
gift. And so what that allows them to do is not drop the compensation value. So when it's basically relisted for sale with the same realtor, it's at the same price it just sold for.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt the neighborhood comparables.
100%.
It's not a distressed sale
Yeah.
by any means. It's still selling at market value to keep the neighborhood value solid.
Right.
So
And you're using the same realtor, which is wonderful, right?
Yes.
So that hopefully speeds things along, makes the realtor super happy
Yeah.
to have a for sure thing, and everyone wins in that. And so when that does sell, obviously the departing owner that left the property gets made whole at the end of it.
yeah.
And so not only are they paying off your mortgage and they're paying off that $100,000 they gave you, but they'll give you 100% of the proceeds above that minus their fee.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like they're making additional money for that service.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, relatively speaking, it's a nominal fee for this,
Right.
what they're allowing you to do, which is go out and perhaps get a property now at a discount. Maybe you can get 5%, 10% off. We're seeing some not distressed sales. We're seeing some motivated sellers, and we're seeing some property values that have come back in line with the market values, and some sellers that have just become more realistic.
Yeah.
Hey, if I'm going to sell my house, I'm not going to get 2021 prices. I need to be more realistic with where the market is. And so our buyers are being able to take advantage of that right now. It's still a win-win for our sellers out there because there's still quite a bit of equity run up since before COVID. I mean, if you bought your house before 2020, you know, look at your numbers. It's been a pretty good run, right? You know, you built some nice equity.
Well,
So-
yeah, and on that note, you know, if you're anything like me, you know, when we moved here, this was our third house we bought.
Yeah.
And at that time when it's going to be our third house, I'm not buying a fixer-upper.
Right.
I had 2 fixer-uppers before, put a lot of work into them, sold them for a win, which was great. But my third home, I'm like, I just want to settle in. You know, I want what I want. And I think what's interesting when you're selling your home and buying the next one, we get a lot more picky. Of like, we know what we want now. We know how this is going to play out. And so it's a little bit more emotional of a buy because you want the best scenario for yourself. Your first home, I felt like we made a lot of compromises. We're just willing to get into a home, start that building equity life. But now we're like, no, we're going to buy what we want. And so when you see that house you want, you don't want to wait.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh, this has got 95% of what I want, which is rare. You know, anything over 80% of compromise is pretty good on a house. And so this allows you not to have to wait.
Exactly. And to your point, after you've lived in a home for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, perhaps your family structure's changed, it's grown, it's shrunk, what have you. There's a lot of features of the current house that you're probably saying to yourself, gosh, I wish my house had this. I wish the house had that. Yeah.
Right.
And so that's where that list, you start making that list of my next house is going to have, it's for sure going to have whatever, outdoor patio or whatever it is, a swimming pool. So you start making that specific list. And then right now in the marketplace, we're seeing more inventory, we're seeing more options, and we're seeing more buyers that have the potential to get exactly what they want. And yet they feel kind of frozen, kind of bound, you know, to the house they have now. Like, oh, I just got to get this sold so I can go buy something. Actually, there's options for you. You can buy before you sell, and HomeLight's just one example. And we have, you know, some other ones that we can dive into. I don't know if we're ready for that or not.
Yeah, well, one thing I like about HomeLight, just because obviously you can tell we're talking about this program a lot, is if you're able to unlock an equity of over $25,000 in your house, they allow up to $25,000 to be used after closing. So it's basically cash, right? So say you want to buy appliances, say you want to like update the garage doors, you want to refloor something, they'll give you the cash for up to 25 grand for that.
That's amazing.
So there's not a lot of programs like that.
We get
so it's not just used on your down payment and closing costs. There's a chunk that can be itemized for that as well.
That's huge.
And you don't have to tell them what you're using it for. It's just cash.
Oh, nice. Go on a trip,
Yes, sir. Buy that RV.
buy that RV, cruise around the country. Yeah, I think in that specific scenario, I think really works the best when you need the equity out of your house,
Right.
or on paper you just simply can't qualify with both mortgages.
Perfect,
It's
yeah.
either or, and then there's kind of some other these other options that we have, kind of a portfolio
That's
loan
not the only option?
It's not the only option.
Yeah.
The buy before you sell, that's really been, I mean, on a weekly basis, we're having these phone conversations. And we've felt sort of a wave building throughout the year of buyers that are going to sort of unleash in 2025, unleash their property search and say, okay, we're doing this. And
I think a lot of pent up waiting.
There has been. There's a lot of demand. I mean, obviously the Austin, greater Central Texas, Austin area ran up pretty significantly during COVID. We did have a pullback in the market, as if you have any, what goes up must come down at some point. So we had a little bit of pullback, but again, it was just back to a reality. We didn't have a depressed market by any means, nor do we have now. We have a very strong labor market here, very strong employment numbers, population growth. Austin's not getting any smaller. Central Texas and Texas in general, robust economy, lots of positive things happening here. So we're still seeing tremendous amount of growth. We're still seeing a tremendous amount of demand. It's just been that demand with kind of a waiting bias. Like I want to do this, but I'm going to wait and see what happens with, get through 2024 and get into 2025 and flip the calendar over. And I'm waiting for interest rates to move or whatever it is. And this is obviously one of those programs that can help you get into a home before the interest rates come down, so that when they do come down, you're in a refinance opportunity instead of more competition with other buyers out there that are finally jumping off off the sidelines into the game.
Right.
So this other option is kind of a portfolio loan that we do, and it works the best if you already have the 20% to put down.
Right.
So you've got the 20%. You don't need the
equity
unlock or equity assist from this other program.
Right.
And perhaps you can't really qualify for a traditional mortgage with both mortgages, on your credit. So we have a portfolio loan that'll allow you to buy, put 20% down. We don't really look so much at the payment of your departing residence. We're going to evaluate it, but it makes sense. It makes sense. And then we close on the purchase. Of course, we get the home listed and sold, and then you can take that equity. You can refinance. That's the other thing too.
Right.
You can refinance the home or recast the mortgage to a lower principal amount, redo the mortgage payment on the purchase so that you have that payment that you're comfortable with, and you're not overpaying on a monthly basis based on an inflated mortgage number that you borrowed. So these are all the things we evaluate when we're looking at putting the picture together.
Yeah. So if you're out there and you're looking to buy, or you're a realtor that works with buyers all day long, please think about this product. If you have any questions, we're here for you. We love scenarios. So don't tell somebody they need to sell their property before they buy without talking to a lender, because that's our job to figure that out for them.
That's right.
And we'd love to see what we can do. So don't say no when there might be a yes.
That's true.
So buy before you sell is possible for a lot of people that might not realize it can be. And we like giving people a way to make their dreams come true instead of waiting for them.
Yeah, gathering all the information before you make a decision is so critical. One of my favorite, I learned this a while ago, is would you jump out of an airplane
Never.
without a parachute for $10,000? Would you jump out of an airplane without a parachute for $10,000? And everyone listening to this,
can you spend it on the way down?
And everybody listening to this would say no, and then I would say, what if it was sitting on the runway? So we made a decision without having all the information.
Right.
Right? So you got to have all the information.
Yeah.
Because I would jump out of an airplane without a parachute for $10,000 if it was sitting on the runway.
Okay.
Right?
I'm trying to wrap my head around how that works.
Yeah. It's just parked on the runway. Would you jump out of an airplane?
So you're falling like 2 feet, 3 feet.
Right. Or 10 or 15, but it's $10,000. Maybe it's $100,000.
Yeah, 100
Maybe
sounds better.
it's $1 million. Would you jump out of an airplane for $1 million without a parachute?
Right. What kind of airplane are we talking about? Right.
Unless it was parked on the runway.
Got it. It clicked. It took. Man, I'm slow this morning. Merry Christmas, all.
So that's our whole takeaway here. Is let's get all the information
Get the facts.
right. Get the facts before we make decisions. So we're glad you're with us today, and I hope you have some questions, comments on this. Please reach out. We'd be happy to help.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Lending Podcast. Take care.
Take care.